Do I feel good today? What is up, DTL Universe? It is a glorious Monday morning. Why? For a lot of reasons. First and foremost, to those of you who are new to our brand, thank you for checking us out. We are live every single weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Stadium in over 150 million homes. Amazon Prime Video, YouTube TV, Roku TV, the Stadium app, watchstadium.com. Wherever you find Stadium, you will find us. For you OGs out there, all you degenerates out there, we also run simulcast on our YouTube channel for the full hour to get you set for the day in sports. Now, the other reason I'm in a great mood today is because once again, tonight, we've got 2 Monday night games, and we will be live on Stadium because I called the bosses yesterday, and I read them the riot act, and they put us live last night on Stadium, and they're going to do it again tonight. No more preempting for us. That doesn't work in the DTL universe. So tonight, a double dip. You got to tune in right at the top of the show for the Game 1 picks. Also, how about a little double header in baseball to decide playoff standings, seedings, placements, getting in, getting out? We'll tackle that about 22 minutes after the hour today. But as always, before we look forward, we must look back. And here is how our day went. Our man, Big Chuck, cleaning the board with his straight picks yesterday. Are you kidding me? That was absolutely sweat-free. And then with our props there, another solid day. Not so sure about DG, but we can address that when we get to him. I even hit 3 props yesterday myself. I was kind of proud of catching with the coach. But as always, you guys know that Howie Schwab always looks down on the show, and we get to play together. We are ramping up. We want this to be a play of the day. I'm making it happen behind the scenes, but for now, it's just a part of the show here, but we want to take it everywhere. So here are the selections today, and they lead right into our Monday Night Football games. Titans plus 2.5, or would you prefer the Dolphins minus 2.5? Seahawks plus 4.5, Lions minus 4.5. Give us a vote. Producer man will let me know at the end of the show what we're rooting for together. But we got a lot to get to. We got picks. We got props. We've got to look forward. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I got the best crew in the business. It's time for the picks. And every single one of my guys has their own expertise, and I love them for it. First and foremost, he's been everywhere. In fact, he was on site for the game of the year. Georgia and Alabama from South Florida. He is the Z-Man. Z, how cool was Saturday in Tuscaloosa? Is that where you were,
Unbelievable. Right? I was there the whole weekend doing college football tailgate, which I host for ESPN Radio. It was unbelievable. I mean, as great a game you're ever going to see. What an atmosphere. It was a classic. My first time ever in Tuscaloosa. I'm very big in Tuscaloosa, so it was glad to finally grace them with my presence. I really enjoyed it. Tuscaloosa may have been my favorite stop so far on this ESPN Radio campus tour we're doing. I really enjoyed Tuscaloosa. They love college football.
Man, and they hosted over 100 recruits. I saw video of that. What an amazing. And then the star of the game is only 17 years old. This kid is amazing. Ryan Williams, isn't that his name? Yep. Ryan Williams? Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. All right. Zeke, love having you on this morning, as always, big boy. Now, this man is just check mark after check mark after check mark. Big Chuck, the man from the Dirty Dirty. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Coach. Crew. Yeah, I was surprised to hear Zaslow say he had a better time in Tuscaloosa than Baton Rouge, but maybe he needs to come when Alabama plays LSU or one of those type of games. He might change his mind frame. So I know the UCLA environment probably wasn't the best, but hey, I'll forgive you.
If I could give a quick explanation, Charles, the weather in Baton Rouge was so disgusting. It was such a turnoff. It was like I never left South Florida. You're outside for 3 minutes. I got to change my shirt. It was disgusting the weekend I was there. I thought Tuscaloosa was actually beautiful. That played a major role. The weather was so bad when I was there. Oh.
Well, you could change your shirt, or if you're Baker Mayfield, you can change your pants accordingly at halftime, is what he said. And we'll discuss that later in Educate and Entertain. Now, finally, he is our numbers guy. You have any questions for him when it comes to numbers, live movement, anything, he's got you covered. He is Raphael is Spurs. Good morning, Raphael.
Good morning, Coach. Good morning, crew. I think Zazzle probably just got back from Baton Rouge because if you ever went to a game there, the traffic's horrible after an LSU game, no matter what time of day is. But it was a great weekend of football, college football Saturday. UNLV 4-0. We don't need that quarterback. And then also great games on yesterday's board.
All right, we've got our Monday mishaps coming up a little bit later in the show where each one of us picks out the one thing that didn't go well for us, the thing that we didn't like. That's coming up in about 15 minutes. We got to start with the doubleheader tonight before we get to our picks. And Z-Man, I got to start with you. This is in your backyard, and there are two teams that desperately need to win tonight, Titans and Miami. And right now at DraftKings, the number's at 2.5. The total sitting at 37. How are you looking at the first game tonight, sir?
Well, look, I'm hesitant to pick the Dolphins because you don't know if you're speaking with your heart or you're speaking with your head, So I'm trying not to play the Dolphins here tonight. I don't think there's going to be a ton of points scored in this game either. I mean, you look at Will Levis, the quarterback play has not been good there. Tyler Huntley for Miami. How could anybody have any clue what to expect from Tyler Huntley and this Dolphins offense? Very, very bad vibes around South Florida as far as this game goes. Let me tell you something, guys. For the past few years, since Tua started to get hot, since the team acquired Tyreek Hill, one of the drawbacks when your team is really good is tickets are so expensive, The tickets for tonight's game, you can get in for Monday Night Football for $30. $30. Yep,
Stop.
$30 you can get in the building tonight for Monday Night Football. Yep, that's right.
Wow. That shows how quickly things can drop off from a playoff team 3 weeks ago to now basically giving tickets away. So, Raphael, let me come over to you. The line really hasn't moved too much in this game tonight. Have you seen anything at all?
No, and Zaslow's right. We're not going to see that many points scored in this game. And I talked to a big global odds maker this morning. He said these two games, the Titans-Miami game, is a Sunbelt game compared to the real Monday Night Football game between the Seahawks and Lions. So that's how much betting description we're probably going to see. Not that much action on the first game, Tennessee-Miami. All the action on the second game, Seattle and Detroit. So it's going to be very interesting to see any kind of line movement with the Dolphins game.
Are you seeing anything, Charles, from your angle on game one?
Yeah, I'm kind of liking Zaslow's Dolphins on the money line, and then this may be one of those sneaky overs. I wouldn't be surprised. 37's a low number. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with someone like the Titans quarterback, short fields, turnovers. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see one of them little sneaky overs again.
All right, well, you hit that little sneaky over yesterday, but let's pivot over to the real game tonight. The undefeated Seattle Seahawks, Z, going into Detroit. The Lions, a preseason favorite to win the whole enchilada coming out of the NFC, coming off a good win on the road last week in Arizona. The number, a yucky 4.5. The total is 47. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we got a really good game brewing tonight in the second one. The Seahawks are not going undefeated, all right? And then there's no shame in A, losing on the road, and B, losing on the road at the Detroit Lions. I really like the Lions in this spot. Like you said, the number's kind of weird, 4.5, but I think Seattle, I don't see how they come out of this game with a win. And I think I'm pretty confident that Detroit can cover the number as well. But that game in Detroit tonight's a fun one.
By the way, I apologize. I didn't mean to be rude. I was actually taking a picture of your big, beautiful face on Amazon Prime right now. It looks absolutely glorious. So that's what I was doing, if anybody's wondering. You can watch us on Amazon Prime every single day. Are you serious right now? Now, Big Chuck, let me come over to you as we are on Amazon Prime. Did I mention that? Now, the Lions, they don't want any more of this narrative that they're just good enough. They're no longer the hunters. They're now the hunted. Does that change anything for you?
Not at all. I actually like the Seahawks in this spot as dogs, and this is what I would like to see. This one I think is more as an underrelated game. It was a high-scoring one last year when the Seahawks won in Detroit, but I think when this one's going to be more defensive-oriented, and I definitely like the Seahawks catching that 4.
It is a weird number, but it does feel like, Raphael, that 4 points, perhaps maybe you want to buy it up to 5 or tease it up to 10.5. That might be the way to go tonight.
It is late last night. Money came in on the Hawks. Now, pretty much every book has 4, including DraftKings has a solid floor. It's going to be very interesting to see if now the home team gets the money all day long. Home team and over, just because of how bad the first game, probably under action in that one. We might see this one creep back up to 4.5. I don't think we'll see 5 again, but I think we'll see 4, 4.5. I don't think that much Seahawks money will come in to drop it to 3.5. That'd be fantastic if we did, because I'm leaning towards the home team. But teaser play will be very, very popular with 2 Monday Night Football games.
Oh, did you say a teaser? Oh, Z-Man, let me come over to you to start our picks out today. Are you perhaps playing a teaser tonight?
Yeah, so like I told you, I don't want to invest in the Dolphins in this game because, like I said, I don't want to bet with my heart. And listen, who knows what to expect out of the Dolphins here tonight. So let's just tease this baby, all right? And we're going to tease from both games. So let's take the over, all right? I don't think there's going to be a ton of points scored, but let's do 6-point teaser. Let's tease it down to 31. That's so not many points. So let's go over 31 Titans, Dolphins, and then let's take the Seahawks plus 10.5. You'll love the hook there with 10.5. So let's, and hey, I already told you, I think I like the Lions to cover the 4.5. So maybe coming up, we got a little bit of middling action. I don't know. I can't predict the future, but Seahawks plus 10.5. Let's tease that with Titans, Dolphins over 31. That's at minus 120.
Man, I love that Seahawks plus 10.5. That just, you never like to use the word can't happen, but it really feels like there's not a world the way the Seahawks are playing right now that they can lose by 10.5 to anybody in the NFL. Anybody.
I mean, can they be down by 17 late and you get the backdoor cover? They lose by 10? Absolutely.
But they are a team that can do the backdoor cover, unlike other teams that we now don't respect. Jets, you might be in my Monday mishaps. All right, Raphael, let me come over to you because I love when you target a quarter, a half, and then you tell me why.
Yeah, Seahawks Lions first quarter over 9.5. We might see more points in the first quarter in this game than we do in the first game between the Titans and Dolphins. 9 out of the 13 games yesterday went over the total. The Hawks have last 2 games that the first quarters have gone over. I think the secondary of both teams who are struggling, Seahawks and Lions, I think that's why we produce touchdowns early. I can see this one flying over the first quarter number.
And I like that a lot. For all you degenerates out there that just can't wait for the full game, Raphael has you covered. Now, on Mondays around the world in soccer are kind of like Monday Night Football. Most of the big leagues will have one game. And Charles, today you have targeted, if I'm not mistaken, is that Serie?
That's the one, Coach.
Let's go. Give it to me.
Match day 6 concludes with 2 teams desperate for points as Parma come in averaging 1.7 team goals at home, while Cagliari, they're averaging the most shots on goal to start the new season. We should see a classic shootout in this spot based on these clubs' style of play. So give me Parma team total over 1.5 and the over 2.75 full-time goals, or you can get the over 2.5 just based off your juice tolerance, as I see a 2-1, 3-1 type score line in Italy, with this one starting at 2:45 p.m. Eastern.
And what Charles is talking about is you can move the line. So 2.75, if they score 3 goals, you get half of your bet. If you move that down to 2.5 and they score 3 goals, you get your entire bet, but you're laying more juice if you lose. So there's a lot of education here, especially in the sport of soccer, because there's a lot of different ways to play it. All right, we are just getting started here on DTL in the morning on a glorious Monday. Still to come on the show, we're talking Monday mishaps. What do the guys think was the biggest mishap from Monday in the NFL? Also, we've got a big-time doubleheader in the National League that has playoff and wild card implications. We break it all down coming up next right here. There's only one place to start your day, and it is live on DTL in the morning on Stadia. And for all of you degenerates out there, we continue on here on our YouTube page, and probably Z-Man, the biggest injury that happened on Sunday was right here in LA, and it was nasty. And I'm sure today Patrick Mahomes is kicking himself because he ultimately caused the injury with the interception, but then he actually hit Rashee Rice. How big of an injury is this in the whole scope of the league?
Well, I mean, it's huge for the Chiefs, that's for sure. We already know, this is a team who offensively now the last couple of seasons is not what they have been. And you look at Travis Kelce, who, I mean, I think clearly at this point, you're sounding the alarm, all right, that he is not the guy, like he's aging, all right. And Xavier Worthy had a terrific long touchdown last night, but he's still a rookie. And now you're losing Rashee Rice for the remainder of the season. So, I mean, is there someone for Kansas City to go out there and grab? I don't know. I know there's a lot of conversation about Devontae Adams and the Raiders, but Raiders and Chiefs aren't making a trade in that division.
No
so
way.
That's not going to happen. I'm not sure what the Chiefs are going to wind up doing moving forward, but that's a major loss for them.
Charles, what do you think about Rashee Rice?
That's a big blow, but maybe Worthy can step up. Remember how Rice turned into the number one option? Maybe Worthy can turn into the Rice, so you never can tell. But yeah, that's a massive blow, especially Pistachio going down also. So they lose their running back and their number one running back and number one receiver. But these are the Chiefs, so I'm sure they can make do.
Did you just call them Pistachio? Or did you call him Pacheco? You called him Pistachio? All right, Raphael, your thoughts.
Well, I wonder who said a week ago that the Kansas City coaches could be devastating if they lose their number one wide receiver. That was this guy right here. Now, what are the Kansas City coaches going to do? Because they have their running game is shorthanded. Now their wide receiver is shorthanded. And they have an aging tight end that likes to eat cereal every time I turn the TV on. I don't know what the Kansas City coaches are going to do right now. They could be the ugliest 4-0 team if you look at the standings right now. I can't believe they're still undefeated.
All right. Neither can I. We're back on Stadium in just 5 seconds. All right, welcome back, everybody. It's DTL in the morning on a glorious Monday. Hopefully, everybody out there had a wonderful weekend. I know that we did here at DTL, and we've got a full day. Don't forget, around 2 p.m. Eastern this afternoon, we drop the latest episode of DTL, the podcast. For you premium members, you get the video every single day. Then tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here live on Stadium, we will have DTL Primetime Live breaking down both Monday Night Football games. Will somebody else get into the club? Last night, Derrick Henry, 87 yards, first touchdown. Can't catch that. It's like plus 400. Come on, Derrick, be better. All right, let's bring my guys back in. Because every single Monday, we like to look at maybe something that didn't go right for us on our betting card or something that we just didn't like from the world of the NFL. It's usually a lot of fun, and it gets things off our chest. Z-Man, let's start with you. What's your Monday mishap?
Well, look, I'm actually going to go back to Friday night with college football, all right?
Let's do it.
What a tremendous finish. Miami Hurricanes, they remain undefeated, essentially saving their season. They come from behind. And then you got the madness, which was that finish where you got the Hail Mary, Virginia Tech. The Hurricanes are celebrating. They all run out on the field. Then they call a touchdown. Virginia Tech is celebrating. They all run out on the field. Hold up, everybody. We got to review this. Holy crap, was that dramatic. Waiting for the referee to come out and make the call. And he clearly makes the correct call. But I thought there was no way that they were going to overturn it because they ruled a touchdown on the field. Was there undisputable evidence that it was not a catch? There wasn't undisputable evidence. I don't think that there was anything there. So the fact that they called it a touchdown on the field, I thought they were going to have to keep it that way. But common sense prevailed. A, that ball was bobbled all over the place. He never had the football. And B, even if he did, he's lying on a guy who's out of bounds. That's out of bounds. That can't be a catch. So the point that I'm trying to make here, Coach, my Monday mishap is anyone who is complaining about the game somehow being fixed, that they didn't make the right call. Let me know when a Miami team, and the Miami Hurricanes, for that matter especially, are the team that the fix is in for. Give me a break. The right call was made. I'm tired already. It was only less than 72 hours ago. I'm tired of hearing people complain about the finish of that game. They clearly got it right.
I've never seen a game where the crowd rushed onto the field, then they took almost 10 minutes to get this call right. It was the most, and it had a lot of things hanging in the balance. A lot of things. You had second half overs. Yeah, it wasn't just the straight play. It was amazing. Thank you for that, Z-Man. That was awesome. Now, Big Chuck, what is your Monday mishap today, sir?
Well, hey, we can go back to last weekend. The Baylor and Colorado kind of had that same scenario also when they threw the Hail Mary and everyone rushed on and they had to come back and replay it. But mine has to be with these coaches still not taking the points with field goals. We saw it with Jacksonville and my own Saints. Still, Dennis Allen takes that field goal in that spot. Then he's, they likely win that game, but they're still not taking the points. They're still going for it. And Dougie P, he really fashioned that when he was originally with the Eagles going for it, passing up, and then he had a little success, but now it's kind of backfiring on him. So not a lot of complaints about yesterday's overall results, but these coaches still not coming and taking the points in a game where the goal is to accumulate points is still mind-boggling to me.
The Chargers had 4th and goal from the 3 or 1, and did a drop back pass with no running backs in the backfield instead of taking the points. I don't understand what these coaches are doing. I don't understand what these coaches are doing. And the worst one is playing tonight in Dan Campbell. He's the worst, the absolute worst. Raphael, talk to me, big boy.
I was going to talk about Matthew Sluka from the UNLV, who probably had the world's worst weekend because his UNLV team, well, not his, the UNLV team spanks Fresno State, and that probably makes his draft stock or even any kind of a stock for signing next year downward a little bit. But I'm going to go to the NFL bettors. I thought the favorites were going to come in yesterday, the favorite day, and what happens? The dogs bark again. 10-3 against the spread, the dogs go. Even the books that had the favorite that should have been the favorite betting-wise, everyone last night was betting the Bills, the dog. What happens? The favorite wins in that game. It just completely shocks me how bad the favorites have not been playing well to this year. This is week 4 already, and the favorites have not been anywhere to be found cashing tickets.
Boy, I tell you what, we have a really good, finger on the pulse of sports betting here because we do it 7 days a week. I haven't seen one community, one show, one anything that is just hitting the rocket boosters, hitting these picks this year. It's just so difficult. It really, really is. Fans do not want to bet on underdogs. They just don't want to do it. And when they continue to come in, you're losing a lot of money. Now, my money mishap is directed at one of you 3 faces right there. No, I need that 4-shot producer, man, because I want to look my man in the eye when I address him. Don't look away. Yeah, I'm talking to you, big boy. My Monday mishap is Rafael Esparza because he told us last week, pump the brakes on Jaden Daniels. Pump the brakes on the Commanders. And what did they do? They went to Arizona and scored 42 points again, and he was spectacular. 1 punt in 3 games. That's all the Commanders have had. At some point, you got to give them the ticket and say, you can get on the ride to potentially go into the playoffs, instead of saying, wait a second, son, you can't get on this ride yet. You're not quite big enough. Because that's what Raphael would like you to do. So the Commanders, I'm all in with Jaden Daniels. I'm all in with the Commanders scoring 42 points. And that's right at you, Raphael. Right at you. Now, we do that every single Monday, and I don't like to target one of my guys. It doesn't make me feel good, but sometimes you got to do it. Now, let's pivot to what's going down tonight, Z. Or actually this afternoon, rather, 1:10 p.m. Eastern. It's such an unusual situation. I need you to set the table of what's going down today in Atlanta.
So listen, there's a lot of people who probably have not been paying, a ton of attention to Major League Baseball. There's a lot of people who start to pay attention when the postseason rolls around. I'm kind of one of those guys. But today, you better be paying attention to what's going on in the, what ends up being the final day of the regular season here. So they have to make up 2 games, the Braves and Mets. So they're playing a doubleheader today. And you have 3 teams fighting for 2 wild card playoff spots. So starting at 1:10 p.m. Eastern today, you got Braves and Mets. Here's what happens. If one of these teams sweeps the doubleheader, they're in, obviously, to the postseason, and they will get the number 5 seed, and they will play San Diego. And then the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are just chilling and sitting and watching. They're also in. They get the number 6 seed, and they would play their wild card series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, if the Braves and Mets split the doubleheader today, Diamondbacks, peace out. Braves and Mets, they then get the final 2 spots, with the Braves getting the 5 seed going to San Diego and the Mets, the 6 seed, going to Milwaukee. So that's what's on the line today. But it becomes really interesting as well, where you have both teams who are the Mets with Severino, the Braves with Sale, who are saving their best pitching option for the second game if need be. So I think what's going to wind up happening is whichever team wins the first game and they clinch a spot, they're going to hold back a lot of their pitchers, may even rest some of their regular position players, and that's going to leave the door wide open for the team that lost game 1. So the point that I'm making here is I think the Diamondbacks are screwed. I think these teams are going to wind up splitting the 2 games because the team that wins the first one, they're going to essentially wave the white flag for game number 2.
You did that so well.
Much
better than I could have done that. So it begs the question. This is one of the most unique situations we've ever been in when it comes to baseball. And a lot of things come into play, Raphael, like competitive spirit. What should the team that wins game 1 do out of respect for Arizona and the Diamondbacks? But at the end of the day, they may not care. If they win number 1, I guess they have to decide, who do we want to let in, Braves or Diamondbacks? That's the decision.
Yeah, I don't want to hear the Diamondbacks crying because, hey, don't lose 5 out of your last 7 if you're the Arizona. If you don't lose 5 out of your 7, you're not in this situation. But I'm pinpointing this on the blame of Major League Baseball. We wouldn't have had this if they had a plan. We knew the hurricane was coming. We knew we had the track of where the bad rain was going. You couldn't find a place to play the game instead of playing a doubleheader. You couldn't go to Omaha with the Little League World Series. That field wasn't then being used. They played the Little League World Series last month. I'm blaming Major League Baseball for the situation we're in today. Granted, I get to watch a doubleheader today that I wasn't going to watch baseball, but I feel bad for the game 2 because game 2, we might not even have a betting line on it just because of the scenario that we could see. We could see position players pitching in game 2. We might see a softball game breakout in game 2.
Shout out to Omar. He says, such great information, Zaslow. Thank you. We appreciate that too, Z. Charles, Raphael brings up a couple of good points. I don't think either team wants to embarrass the game, but when the game literally does not matter to you getting in or change the seating, right, Z? The seating, whoever wins, they're locked in, right, to the 5.
Well, if the Braves win one of the games, obviously they win both. If the Braves win one of the games, they're the number 5 seed. If the Mets win the first game and they lose the second one, they'd be the 6th seed. If the Mets win the first one and they win the second game, they'd be the 5 seed because then Arizona gets in. So Atlanta can only be 5. Arizona can only be 6. The Mets can be either or.
Okay, with that information, Charles, I guess there's a little bit to think about for the team that wins game 1 today.
Which I have the Braves winning game 1, so I guess it's going to come down to the Mets. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Braves do because I definitely like them in game 1. So just saying what they would do, who they would roll out. So I don't think I've ever seen a scenario like this. I'm pretty interested to see how it pans out. And and I hate to see that for the Diamondbacks. They fought back so hard to come in to get into the playoffs, to sputter down the line, and it's kind of disappointing.
Shout out to Lori. She says, crazy MLB scenario. You're right. Scott says Arizona has no room to complain. They play 162 games. Enough said. That's exactly kind of the point. There's going to be some old school baseball heads out there that say, oh, yeah, they need to play, respect the game, all of that. At this point, these teams are worried about getting in. Do the Mets want to dictate who they play? Maybe. I don't think we'll ever know that, but we sure as hell have a fun first game today. That is faux show. All right, still to come here on the show. What did Tom Brady say about Baker Mayfield? We'll have that coming up. And also it's time to prop it up. We are live, DTL in the morning on Stadia. We continue on here on our YouTube page for all you degenerates out there. And I had a question for you, Raphael, and we have so many. The chat just pops. I always lose them. But basically, coming off your underdogs continue to dominate. That was the question. Do you think that we're going to see lines moving forward, at least in this week, that will be so over-exaggerated now because they continue to move the lines up with the underdogs, or excuse me, down, and then they continue to cover?
No, because the book's saying why change the number if the betting public is still betting the favorite. It's just like going grocery shopping with the prices of milk. They're not going to change the price of milk going downward again because we're still buying the price of milk now. It's high price. So it's just supply and demand. We're going to keep on betting the favorites no matter what the number is, even though the dog has been barking. So if you're an odds maker, you're just sitting back and just, it's a normal day. Why change the number if the betting public's going to keep on betting it?
So, Z, if you're better, what do you change?
Man, I don't know. It is a wild day. I'm so excited overall for today because you got Mondays. I feel like you're not normally gifted this kind of sports day where, all right, we got a doubleheader Major League Baseball, which both games do have consequence, and that starts very early, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And then we got the doubleheader Monday Night Football, which I'm obviously a little bit biased. It's right here, about 15 minutes from where I live. So I'm pumped that on Monday we continue a great sports weekend here.
Charles, I feel the same way as Z. What about you, big boy?
Yeah, I keep telling you, the NFL is all about perception. Just go ahead and whatever you're thinking, go with the opposite. Now, I'm already looking at next week. I guarantee you we're going to see plenty of shocks, upsets. Teams that did well this week are going to I see them stumbling next week. So, or this coming up Sunday. So, yeah, just whatever you're thinking in the NFL, like I said, it's all about perception. Just go the different way and you'll pretty much be successful.
And as Kevin says, we also have our show tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern to add to that Monday, Z, man. So even the crew gets it. They understand how blessed they are. Here on a Monday, you get 2 DTL shows, all of these games. That's what life is all about. And we are back live on Stadium in just 5 seconds. All right, welcome back to the show. It's DTL in the morning on Stadium. I got Z, man. I got Raphael. I got Charles. You know what time it is. We're just past the bottom of the hour, just after 10:30 a.m. in the East, just after 7:30 a.m. out here in the West. And it is now time to prop it up. Oh, John says, I'm pumped to have a distraction from how terrible yesterday was. I hear you, John. I hear you. Now, these are the props for today. Let's start right at the top. My numbers guy, Raphael, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going Gibbs over 11.5 rushing attempts -3 nickels. I just think the running game for Detroit's going to be full front and center right from the start. So I can see Gibbs getting a lot of rushing attempts early and often. And it's going to be a run happy game. If you're Detroit, you want to keep that Seattle offense and Geno Smith's arm on the bench. I think the run happy game, he's hit this prop 6 out of his last 10 games. So I'm going with that rushing attempts for Gibbs. And then give me the longest field goal made under 40.5 yards in the first game between the Dolphins. These teams have only hit 4 field goals all season long. Only one of them was 50 plus. I don't see that many points being scored, and field goals are going to happen. Coolville is not going to be on the field today, so I think under 48.5 between 2 horrible offensive teams today in the first game.
Can I tell you something that happened yesterday based off you saying Coolville? I was driving my son to the club to do his normal Sunday golf practice. I don't get to play with him on Sundays. And so I didn't have, obviously I'm in the car and I have the phone in the little thing. And I was on the Falcons on the money line and I knew the Saints were going in for a touchdown. I was like, damn it, I'm going to miss this one. And then all of a sudden I see on the thread, Coolville from you. And I was like, that can only mean one thing. My guy banged home a winner. So thank you, Raphael, for that. By the way, guys, damn, we've got a little issue. Omar says, don't tell my girlfriend about all these games today. She's not going to like it. Omar, we all know you don't have a girlfriend. Let's just stop it right now. Let's just stop that right now. But if you do, I promise you we won't tell her. But we all know the drill. All right, I'm coming right down to Z-Man. And Z, you've got a name on your prop board that's a little surprising for me, and I need to hear the explanation. You're up.
All right, well, I'm looking at Tyler Huntley tonight. He's going to get the start for the Dolphins. he's only been on the team for less than 2 weeks at this point. This week, he's been learning the playbook. Apparently, he's ready to go, so he's going to get the start tonight. You got an athletic quarterback who's brand new to the team and is likely not going to be able to go through the entire playbook. And so what does that mean? Any sign of trouble, any sense of pressure, I feel like Huntley tucks the ball and he goes and he runs for it. So we're talking 40-plus yards rushing Tyler Huntley tonight at plus 155. What's the easy thing to do? If you're confused out there, you tuck the football and you run. So I think Tyler Huntley is going to be using his legs a bit tonight for the Dolphins. We're going to stick in the game tonight, the early one, Dolphins and Titans, and we're going to look at DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins finally healthy last week, 73 yards total receiving he had. Well, I'm going 60-plus yards receiving at plus 290. That's a very big number here, all right? DeAndre Hopkins last week showed he had 6 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. He's starting to get the workload that you would expect DeAndre Hopkins to get. So 60-plus yards rushing at receiving, at plus 290. Come on, let's go. So I like those 2 props.
My man Z, utilizing DraftKings, they have a way to go in and they'll give you 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and you decide what you want to do. So I love that you did that. Oh, plus 290 for 60-plus. I'll take it all day, every day. Shout out to my girl, Peggy. Coach, are you saying your son is in the club and you're not? You know what happened last night, Peggy. It hurts. It hurts. And Z-Man, if you missed it last night, I made a little boo-boo, and I gave A, B, and Seabass credit for getting into the club, when in all actuality, I was the only idiot that was on the show that was not in the club because Charles got in last week. And, of course, Charles had to let me know, as only Charles can.
And Charles popping bottles, waiting for you, man.
Over here waiting.
All right, Big Chuck, what do you got today? You got one for us.
Yeah, and I should have went with some alternatives also, but I'm going to stick with that same game. Devon Achane, over 23.5 receiving yards, regardless of who the quarterback has been. His lowest receiving total was 28 yards last week. So but for the season, he's averaging 58 receiving yards and it's about 6 catches per game. And I think he'll probably be a little security blanket for Huntley. So, I love him getting over 23.5 receiving yards. I think this is a super discount for as much action as he's been seeing in each game.
I agree with you. Quick chat question for Z. Scott said, I would drop the over 60 yards receiving, which in turn could mean that Calvin Ridley will go under his prop. Do you agree?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge Calvin Ridley guy. I know he starts the year as the number 1. DeAndre Hopkins has a much better resume. I think DeAndre Hopkins is super undervalued. And if he's going to start to look healthy, there's a reason why last week he got the workload he did. He was not healthy the first 2 weeks. So I think Hopkins is the number 1 guy there. And yeah, that makes sense. Maybe Ridley winds up going under then if I got Hopkins going over.
All right. Very, very good. Those are our props for today. Don't forget tonight, everybody who's on DTL Primetime Live will have more props for the game right before they both start. Now, something happened yesterday that we've all been waiting for. Will the real Tom Brady please stand up? It's time for Educate, Entertain. This may have been the most entertaining thing that happened the entire weekend. And if you guys missed it, it happened during the Eagles-Bucks game, which Tom Brady was on the call. We're going to show you the whole thing, then give it context. And I can't wait to hear what my guys have to say. It starts with Baker Mayfield and a quote that he made about his time in Tampa on a recent broadcast. Producer man.
Took a little playful jab at our guy here. Said, quote, they wanted me to come in, be myself, bring the joy back to football for guys who weren't having as much fun. It's funny because you've made this environment for me very stressful up here in the booth, so I understand where he's coming from.
Do you feel it?
No.
Feel the stress? No. Well, I was going to say, I thought stressful was not having Super Bowl rings. So there was a mindset of a champion that I took to work every day. This wasn't daycare. If I wanted to have fun, I was going to go to Disneyland with my kids.
I feel like there's more in there to say.
there's a way to approach this game.
Yeah.
And it's that with the right mindset and try to push each other outside of our comfort zone. And great teammates do that. You come in, I have someone like Gronkowski, I have someone like Evans. There's high expectations for us. We got to make sure we go out there and deliver.
It's not daycare. If I wanted to have fun, I'd go to Disney World with my kids. Now, Baker Mayfield did say after the game that it was taken out of context for what that's worth. But Z, I'm going to start with you. I think this is the Tom Brady that Fox hoped they got when they hired him a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily taken out of context as much as it is. It's hard to tell tone when you're just reading. And, you know, I don't think with Baker Mayfield, I don't think there was anything wrong with what he said. And I also don't think it's very inflammatory what Brady's response was. I think both make sense. I don't think there's really much to do with this, but Brady did make a couple headlines yesterday on the broadcast. You had that right there where he, you know, responds to Mayfield's comments. And also Tom Brady let everybody know that the runner-up in the Tom Brady sweepstakes when he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was the Chicago Bears. And he went through that yesterday. And I don't think we knew that the Bears were that serious of a contender and that it came down to him putting together a pros and a cons list for Tampa Bay and Chicago and ultimately going with the Buccaneers.
I never knew that at all. And I don't think when he was going through that process that we ever knew that at all. He kept everything completely close to the vest. Nate says that wasn't that bad. Nate, it's not that I'm saying that it's that bad, but when an analyst doing a game says that, that's headlines. Not saying there's anything wrong with it, but when you're a 7-time champion, I would hope that he would say that when Baker clearly was talking about him. I don't want him to dance around this, Raphael, and he took it on head on, and I think he was actually waiting to do it. I think he enjoyed it.
Oh, he enjoyed it as well. And that Bears prep, I had to go back to look at where we had maybe Tom Brady would play next. Tampa Bay was always the favorite. The Chicago Bears were 75-1 to land Tom Brady if he went there. So that would have been completely crazy. I couldn't find out how many tickets were written on that. I never got a response back. But that would have been crazy if he went to Chicago. This reminds me of the Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan would say this all the time. He didn't play for friendships. He always played for ships. And that's what Tom Brady said yesterday. He could care less about people's feelings. He played to win Super Bowls. That's all it told me. Michael Jordan and Tom Brady are pretty much the same person when they played their games.
Charles, it does feel, I mean, even with the commercials that Brady has out right now, the young kid and why are you still working? Why are you still doing that? He is very, very close to a Michael Jordan mentality. And I don't think we really knew that when he played. Now he's been way more open the last couple of years. And we find out that he actually does have a personality. Charles.
He had to put a little flex on Baker, so I rather enjoyed it. So I was happy to see my fellow Leo come out and just kind of, you know, put it down and say, hey, championships are what matters. Having a good time is secondary. You know, we can have a good time after we win championships. So I was happy to hear him to come out, but, you know, I enjoyed both of them. And I was surprised to hear about the Bears news. I remember when they were going through the whole process, we didn't have any idea where he was going to land. So that's rather surprising to hear the Bears were second on the list. I guess I could see it being another cold weather city. So, but yeah, great information there, Zaslin.
Yeah. Rick says in the chat, sounds like Kevin Burkhardt misses Greg Olsen. 15 seconds, Z. Do you think that he does?
No. I think you have an opportunity to spend every Sunday in the booth with the greatest quarterback of all time. I don't think you're missing Greg Olsen.
I can tell you that Greg Olsen is missing that paycheck that he got last year. When you go from number 1 to number 2, apparently at Fox, it's a $7 million difference. So Greg Olsen, he's in a great spot. I love him. I think he's great. And if he was still in that number 1 spot, I'd be cool with it too. But Z's right. I mean, Tom Brady's the GOAT. And you work with the GOAT, you're going to learn something. And as a former or current play-by-play guy, I guess, you want to learn from the best. And he's got the best standing right next to him. All right, time to take a final break of the show. We are live, DTL on Stadium. All right, guys, very serious situation coming out of Los Angeles yesterday. And the timing is crazy. And I know you guys, oh, coach, you feed into this TMZ stuff too much. But there was a document a couple of weeks ago that got leaked about the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift breakup. And this was the weekend for it. She didn't show up in Atlanta last week because she had plans with her friends Gigi Hadid. And she has a house in Los Angeles. So if she was home, why didn't she just drive down the road and see her boy? Do we think that this could be real, Z-Man?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, there's a I don't believe in any of this conspiracy theory garbage. I mean, they put together a document detailing not only that they're going to break up, but exactly when they're going to do it. I think it was supposed to be on Saturday. I think it was 2 days ago, the 28th. No, I think there is nothing there. And if she wasn't at the game yesterday, she had a busy life. I mean, it's just a coincidence. I absolutely do not believe that there was an actual document from one of their PR firms detailing when and how they're going to break up. Get out of here with that nonsense.
I love when Z scolds me. I love when he scolds me on stuff
Ridiculous.
like this. John says, laughing my hats off. What are we doing here? We're talking about pop culture. And Raphael, I mean, 2 weeks in a row, she hasn't shown up. That's not like her.
Coach, 95% of the time when I go back to Vegas, my wife is not with me. TMZ's not reporting that. So, like, hey, give me a break. The NFL script is not saying anything about breakups. There's a reason why they got that money for their podcast, the Kelce's. They're going to be a while. I'm telling you, the podcast is going to tell us when they get married. The podcast is going to tell us when they're going to have kids. The podcast is going to tell us what's the sex of the kids. They're going to be around for a while.
Charles, I apologize. Raphael and Z-Man just took your time. So I apologize for that on behalf of them. Because I know you had a hot take on Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Can't imagine.
Oh, my God. You're the absolute best. All right. We are back on Stadium having a great morning in 5 seconds.
Hey, what's good, everybody? We're back with Stadium Eats. This week, we are in Baltimore. And there's really only one thing to try when you're in Baltimore. We're doing crab cakes.
Great crab cakes always start with Old Bay. We'll add dry mustard, white pepper, melted butter, egg yolks, Worcestershire mayo, salt, pepper, lemon juice. Whisk that together. Then we're going to take the crust off some white bread and dice it down really, really small.
Yes, white bread. Trust me on this. I promise you, it looks like there might be a lot of bread in there, but when it gets wet, it disintegrates. It's going to bake out. We're going to be left with just a fluffy crab cake.
Now we'll add our bread to our liquid mix. Gently mix that together till the bread's coated. Let it soak in. Add in your crab. Make sure you got some jumbo lump. And again, gently mix. We don't want to break up the crab. Hot skillet, butter, and then we're going to put those crab cakes down. Sear for about 2 minutes into the oven on the broil till they come out looking nice and crispy like this. Now we build the sandwich. We got a toasted brioche bun, remoulade, romaine, heirloom tomato, a little bit of salt and bacon. Go ahead, add one of those nice fluffy juicy crab cakes to it and top off your sandwich. Give this thing a good look. I'm telling you, there's a ton of flavor in here. This is going to be the best, lumpiest crab cake you've ever had.
Look at this thing. That's so good. Until the next dish, y'all.
All of these 5-star chefs on TV like Seabass, they love to include the bite with the and then video cuts. A lot of happy Ravens fans last night in Baltimore as they blew out the Buffalo Bills, and Josh Allen and that team, they've got some answers that they need to find. Now, real quick, member of our crew, DG, is in the chat, and I am quite sure he would never put this in there if it was not true. Let's bring all three back on camera if we could, please. Apparently, breaking news, Dikembe Mutombo has passed away. The great NBA legend. And a lot of people in the chat are now, he was best known for the finger. I got to meet him many, many times. Maybe the biggest heart, Z, and you're a big NBA guy of anybody.
Terrible news. That's terrible news. He did tremendous work in his home country, building hospitals, taking care of his people. All-time nice guy in the NBA. I mean, he has to be, early 50? Is he even 50? I mean, he played
58.
into his early 50.
Yeah.
Wow, a little bit older than I thought, but 58 years old. My goodness. Oh, that's terrible news. I do not like hear that. That's terrible, terrible news.
Raphael, your thoughts? I know we're just bringing it up right now.
Yeah, I mean, the reports are saying such a smart guy with all the foundations he did, and he dies of brain cancer. I mean, that is just, I was not expecting that today. I'm going to think about that all day because all the good stuff he did outside of the NBA is what I'm going to remember him, not the finger waving, all the good stuff he's done outside of the NBA.
Years and years ago, there was a guy named Bobby Sura. He was a point guard at Florida State, and he was the point guard for the Houston Rockets. And I was friends with his brother, and they all lived in this apartment building downtown. They all had apartments, so they didn't have to drive all the way to the suburbs where their big houses were. And Dikembe had a place in this building, so they used to hang out there all the time, like in between practice and the game and stuff like that. He was just the nicest cat in the world. Charles, real quick, your initial thoughts on this before we move on.
Oh man, shocking! I hate to hear it. I didn't even know he wasn't well, so that's even more surprising. But yeah, I grew up with Dikembe, so yeah, I definitely hate to see that, to hear that bad news come through today. So he will be missed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Oh man, it just seems like there's more and more. And exactly, I mean, brain cancer clearly behind closed doors was suffering. So at least now he's not suffering anymore. All right, let's move on. As we wrap up DTL in the morning here on Stadium, a quick reminder, DTL, the podcast drops around 2 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. And then we're back right here on Stadium tonight with DTL Primetime Live at 7 p.m. Eastern time, counting down to both Monday night games. So if you missed the top of the hour, we've got you covered right now in a little something we like to call the whip around. All right, we start with our straight plays. Raphael, begin, please.
Give me the Seahawks Lions first quarter over 9.5 laying at nickel. 9 out of 13 games went over the total yesterday, and both Monday night games. This game is going to have the most points. I'll take the first quarter over 9.5.
Let's get this thing started quickly. How about a little tease, Z-Man?
Yeah, give me a 6-point teaser, one on each game tonight. Let's go Seahawks plus 10.5 at the Lions, and then let's go over 31 Titans and Dolphins. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that one, but over 31 can't be too difficult to get to.
Charles, Serie A today.
Serie A. Parma, Cagliari. Parma averaging 1.7 team goals at home. Give me the team total over 1.5, and Parma, Cagliari over 2.75 or 2.5 full-time goals. I have a 3-1, 2-1 type final score.
Real quick, Blues Cat 59 says, did Coach say to buy from 4.5 to 5? What happened to educate and entertain? Has anyone ever done that in history? What I said was you could buy it to 5 if you so choose, and that will change the juice. Some people do it. In the NFL, half a points matter at every single number. We understand it's 3, 7, and 10. We get that. We do this for a living every single day. But if you so choose, you can buy it to 5 or down to 4, which is actually a number that matters. 4 is 24 to 20, 27, 23, 20 to 16. Oh, wait, that was the score in the Raiders-Browns game yesterday. Yes, 100%. You could buy it either way is what I meant. If I misspoke, then I apologize. But yes, people buy half points all the time on every number. So we got to give out that option. Now, what about our props tonight? Because we've got several props that the guys have, and I love every single one of them. Raphael, what are your 2, sir?
Give me Mr. Gibbs over there in Detroit, over 11.5 rushing attempts, -3 nickels. I think the run game is going to be huge in the Lions game. And in the first game, we ain't going to see that many points anywhere. So give me the Titans, Dolphins, longest field goal under 48.5. I think you'll see a whole bunch of short field goals, and only one of those kicks out of their 4 field goals this year. Both teams went over 50 yards.
Why don't you think, with all the long field goals that are going on this year, why don't you think there'll be a 50-yarder tonight?
Indoor. All those field goals have been indoor.
Fair enough. All right, Z-Man, Tyler Huntley getting the nod tonight, and you're putting him on your board, yes?
Yeah, I think he's just learning the playbook. I could see a lot of tuck and run. So Tyler Huntley, 40-plus rushing yards tonight, plus money 155. And DeAndre Hopkins looking more and more like himself now. Last week, he was over 70 yards receiving. So I'm going to go DeAndre Hopkins 60-plus receiving yards, and it's at plus 290. That's a gift.
An absolute gift at almost plus 300. Are you kidding me? That's what we do. Now, Charles, you got one prop and one prop only. Talk to me.
Devon Achane over 23.5 receiving yards. He's averaging 58 on the season, only needing 24 in a spot where I think Huntley is going to use him possibly as a security blanket. Yeah, give me over 23.5 for Achane.
Boom and boom. Quickly, Edson says, Raphael, FanDuel has first quarter over at 7.5.
That's why you shop around. That's why you have multiple books. Get the best number as possible. I don't have the best number. You have the best number.
Final takes from my guys heading into 2 Monday night games tonight. Z, start us off.
I think the Dolphins-Titan game is going to be terrible. A snooze fest. I mean, hopefully the Dolphins wind up pulling it out. Thank God I don't have to see Skylar Thompson again tonight. That's where I stand.
Big Chuck, talk to me.
I think it's going to be opposite. I think we may see a good game with the Dolphins coming out on top. I think we may see some points, turnovers, and I think the Lions and Seahawks may be the snoozer, more low-scoring, defensive-oriented.
Wow, look at Big Chuck. Raphael, bring us home.
Detroit Lions, who cares about analytics? If you have a field goal chance, kick the field goal.
And finally, our crew play of the day, courtesy of Howie Schwab. Lions minus the 4.5. That won the vote. So that's who we will play together. Synergy. And I keep promising you, and I'm working behind the scenes to get a crew play of the day that we can all play together at a sports book and benefit everybody. But in the meantime, understand this. There is only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight to the pay window. My entire crew, Lobo, Z-Man, my man from the Dirty Dirty Charles, Raphael Esparza, my numbers guy, producer man, always behind the scenes. I am simply the coach, trying to keep this train on said track. We grind for you so we can win with you. It's what we're all about every single day right here on DTL on Stadium. Have a great day.